This is a place for planting, for digging, for harvesting, for relaxing. It's a place to get your hands dirty, but most of all, it's about having fun. And that's what you'll always have when you're in the garden with Doug Oster. You want a green thumb too, don't you? It has been an unprecedented summer of rain. I think we're up 5 inches above normal, and that means the garden, I've never seen it look this lush. Not only the tomatoes, but the weeds too. But with all that rain, it's the perfect storm for a pest that we're going to deal with, as always, organically. So the issue we're having is with something called slugs, which are snails without the shell, and they love moist, humid conditions. As I said, this is the perfect storm for them. And if you have something that's getting eaten and you can't figure out what it is, you can't see a rabbit or a deer or groundhog, here the slugs have outed themselves. When you see this kind of silvery, slimy trail on the plants, we know it's slugs. And I've got this container, the slugs have just been demolishing the plants, and then some beans over here too. And I'm using an organic control called Sluggo. Anything I'm going to use in the garden is organic, and it just overdoses the slugs on iron. There are a lot of ways to deal with slugs, but this is my favorite. You know, if you're going to trap them with beer, that's disgusting, and they won't cross copper. There's all sorts of different things, but Sluggo for 10 bucks, this is the way I'm going to do it. And they will ingest this, and then the slugs will be gone, and nothing else will eat it, and that's the good part. So we're just targeting the slug and not going to affect the good bugs. And I bet you the slugs are living right down in here. That's what they do during the day when it's nice and warm. They're down in the soil. At night, they come up. That's why we never see them feed. All right, I'm going to get these beans next. Well, here the slugs are just living underneath this mulch. The mulch is great for the plants, but it's also the perfect place for the slugs to hide. All right, next up, we are going to start what I call the third part of the season, planting for fall. Well, our peas have finally given up the ghost, and boy, they lasted a long time. I probably have some seed in here I can save. I'm going to get all this stuff out of here, and as soon as I do, that means I'm planting something that, again, is going to take us into the next season, and we'll have to remove our golf clubs until we can find something vining. Ah, 3-iron. So this is just the very beginning of this, what I call third part of the season, where we're planting things that love cool weather. It's not cool yet, but by the time they sprout, by the time they get going, by the time we get into September, they're going to be in their prime and they're going to love the weather. This is a radish called China Rose. It is a heirloom that loves to grow during the winter. They get 5 inches long. It's a very old variety, and this is the perfect spot for it. I've got some basil here, which will be gone in a couple months. Actually, a tomato called Red Racer that was sent to me late. It's something that I'm trying, and it's already got a tomato on it. It's the latest I've ever planted a tomato, and we'll see if we'll get one by the end of the season. But for now, in here goes our China Rose radish seeds, and we're just going to sprinkle them down there and kind of scratch them in and then put some water on them. And I put a lot of seed in here because I'm going to use the thinnings too, which I love, the microgreens. And I still have some more that I can plant later. We have some kale to plant next, and that's not an heirloom variety, that is a brand new variety. Even though we have had a lot of rain, whenever we plant seeds, we've got to get it moist so that they sprout, and keep them moist until they do sprout. But check out this vine here. This was one of our bargain plants, this Moonflower, and there's supposed to be morning glories in there too. I don't know if they're in there, but it's covered this entire windmill, and as I said, it was a bargain, and I can't wait to see it start to flower, and it shouldn't be long. Unlike the heirloom China Rose radish, this is a brand new All-America selection. It's a kale called Prism, and All-America selection means that it's been tested all around the country by lots of different growers and awarded that AAS certification. I love to try this new stuff and see how it does. Again, kale is a plant that tastes best after a frost, so by the time it gets going, it gets established, it's going to just enjoy that cool weather. All right, I want to show you a couple other things in the garden that we're doing right now. Get some water on this. Well, believe it or not, even though we are towards the end of the season, I'm still adding plants and, as always, bargain plants. This guy was on sale, but I'm getting the most bang for the buck because this is a tuberous begonia called Bonfire, one of my absolute favorites. Down below, that bulb-like tuber can be saved at the end of the season when frost hits this. Now, I'm still getting 2 months of beautiful blooms like this, and then it will get twice this size when I feed it. But then saving that bulb all winter long and then planting it again in the spring. Now, I've got one more plant for you to see that's one of my absolute favorites that's just starting to bloom. Well, this is one of my favorite late flowering plants, Anemone or Windflower. It is just starting these beautiful purple blooms. This variety is called Queen Charlotte, and when this plant is established, once we get it planted and it goes, there's nothing it needs from us, and that's the kind of plant that I love. All right, let's finish up. So here's another one of those plants that I'm adding at the end of the season. These are Caladiums with the bulb underneath. It's tender that I'll save. Now, check me out online. That's where you can find lots of other garden stories, videos, blog posts, and how you can become a member of my Seed of the Month Club. I've got a free gardening symposium for subscribers coming up. Now, until next week, I've got to get after those weeds. Otherwise, that garden is just going to be a complete jungle of weeds. We'll see you then. It seems like this season has been non-stop rain, which means it's been the perfect storm for slugs. Tune in this Friday to In the Garden. We'll show you how to deal with them organically. Is that really necessary?
No, but it was fun.